Deters, the Bulldog on Real Talk 1160. Well, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to look across the landscape of the media this Monday morning and see all the headlines and the stories. We have an NBA All-Star Game. We have a rained-out Daytona 500. We also witnessed the awarding of the Oscars. And then we are on the eve of a great GOP primary election in Arizona and Michigan. Ladies and gentlemen, the American jury, welcome to the show. I'm ready to deliver radio superbity to you. Jacob's behind the camera. TC's behind the glass. We are ready to rock and roll, and I have a great show and tell, which I'm saving for pop culture. For obvious reasons, as I've shown TC and Jacob, they can understand. We'll let you in on the secret when pop culture arises, correct?
Well worth the wait.
Well worth the wait. The quote of the day is from George Bernard Shaw. How true this is, how true this is. Liberty means responsibility. That is why most men dread it. How true it is.
That's very good.
Bonus quote from my cousin Jim Moss, who is a lawyer that practices federal criminal law in Ohio. The first one through the wall always gets bloody, from Moneyball. And you know what? Being the first one through the wall sometimes, I know what that's like. Today in history, 1911, inventor Charles Kettering demonstrated his electric automobile started in Detroit by starting a Cadillac's motor with just a press of a switch instead of a hand crank. Cars have not been the same since. In 1922, the Supreme Court, in a case, unanimously upheld the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, which guaranteed the right to vote to ladies. Let them vote. Let them vote. Famous birthdays today. Chelsea Clinton is 31, and Elizabeth Taylor, Miss National Velvet, and Cleopatra, she was born today. Of course, she died this past year. Military deaths, sad to report. Joshua A. Bourne, 25, of Niceville, Florida, and Corporal Timothy J. Conrad Jr., 22, of Roanoke, died in Afghanistan of wounds suffered when their unit came under small arms fire. And also, Lieutenant Colonel John Loftus, 44, of Paducah, Kentucky, died February 25th from wounds received during attack on the Interior Ministry in Kabul, Afghanistan. And I'm going to address that issue during the show. 3-day forecast today is sunny and high of 55. Tuesday, high of 56. Wednesday, showers, high of 65. Let me remind everybody out there in the tri-state, it is February. 55 to 65. Jack Wagons of the day, the Oscars. I've never seen more pretentiousness in all my life. Let me see. What other adjectives could I come up with? Ostentatiousness. I mean, it's incredible. And I love the movies. If I ever become an A-list celebrity, I am going to just simply be cool. You know what? There's something about just being cool. And I know there's some actors out there and some actresses out there. But you know what? Even those that you don't think would ever get bitten by it, they get bitten by it. And it's sad to see as they go down to that pretentiousness. Also, Barack Obama's a jackwagon. You say, why? Because he's in the Jackwagon Hall of Fame. TC, Barack Obama received 95% of the black vote. My prediction is he'll receive 94% this time.
Okay.
He has formed a committee, African Americans for Obama.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Not good.
I heard about that.
Not
now,
good.
I thought, here's my, I don't want to know what you think about that.
But go, give me what you think, straight up.
My first thought, now see, I've always thought that the Democrats have always, and this bugs me, that they assume that they're going to get the African-American vote by default, okay?
Correct.
So now, the incumbent Democratic president thinks that he needs to reach out and market to the black community. He must think that he's hurting in that area. Right?
Yeah, he's going to get 1% less than he did last time.
Well, I mean, maybe he's thinking more than that, though. I mean, why would you go after a segment of the population that you already expect to get?
You know what? He might have some concerns that he's not going to get as much or as enthusiastic. And what he did is he had Vince Carter, Alonzo Mourning, and some other NBA stars fly with him down to a $30,000 plate dinner down in Orlando. and promote this thing during the All-Star game. But it just bothers me in the sense that you're the president of the United States, and if you're the president of the United States, the last thing that you should be doing is dividing America or creating these racial divides. See, I'm somebody, I look at things straight up. I look at things straight up. And when you're the president of the United States, I mean, what would you think if Ron Paul, Santorum, or Mitt said, "Whites for Paul"?
Oh, there was the guy down there. It would be an uproar.
It would be an uproar.
The one guy, the Klansman, the guy from Louisiana.
Oh, David Duke.
Yeah, Duke.
Is he still alive?
I don't know what's going on with that.
He's
guy.
a jackwagon.
Yeah,
we could jackwagon him up.
But yeah, they'd go nuts. Everybody would go nuts if you had something like that.
Oracles of the day are fun. These are nothing but fun oracles.
Okay.
Chad Dalton. You might say, who's Chad Dalton? No, he's not a member of the infamous Dalton gang that got shot up at that great Minnesota bank robbery. He is a Bulldog Nation member. I'm at Walgreens yesterday in Independence in the checkout line, and this guy standing next to me. I'm just looking at him. He's looking at me, and I says, "How you doing?" He goes, "I'm ready to go to that Armed March with you." I said, "You are?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Well, I called it off. There was only 20. He goes, "I was one of the 20, and I recruited 2 more.
Oh.
And I said, "Chad Dalton, God bless you." So we're going to oracle him up. Bill Atkins. Now, Bill Atkins is actually received a jackwagon status once from me. He is my liberal Democrat friend who is running for Congress. But you know what? All my liberal Democratic friends are lawyers, and they always are good guys. And my son Parker got a ticket in Grant County, which worries me because he might get the life sentence. Bill Atkins is taking care of that for me today.
Nice.
So Bill Atkins gets Oracle status. Jim Moss, my lawyer cousin who always sends me witty and wise things. And then just Farmers of America because they feed us. Just Farmers of America because they feed us. They all get Oracle status today. History story today. Nowhere in the history of the internet is the name H.R. Haldeman mentioned. But if not for Watergate, things might have been very different. And the internet might have burst upon us years earlier. Way back in 1973, the chief of staff to Nixon was planning a major initiative for what he referred to as the Wired Nation. Haldeman hoped it would be the jewel of Nixon's second term, but Watergate soon consumed the White House and the idea came to nothing. Haldeman talked about what might have been shortly after Nixon resigned in 1974. Check this out. This is incredible. Through computer, you could order whatever you wanted. The morning paper, entertainment services, shopping services, coverage of sporting events and public events. Technologically, it can be done. But if it had stayed on the second term, I believe it would have come much faster. Haldeman's words showed astonishing foresight, since the internet as we know it today lay a decade or two in the future. With major federal backing in the 70s, it might have materialized much more quickly. And instead of being reviled as the architects of the Watergate cover-up, Richard Nixon and H.R. Haldeman might today be hailed as the creators of the internet, as opposed to Al Gore. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? I didn't know that.
Wow.
Here's a little humor for you. A little old lady sold pretzels on a street corner for $1 each. Every day, a young man would leave his office building at lunchtime, and as he passed the pretzel stand, he would leave her $1 but never take a pretzel. This offering went on for more than 3 years. The two of them never spoke. One day, the young man passed the old lady's stand and left his $1 as usual. The pretzel lady spoke to him for the first time in over 3 years. Without blinking an eye, she said, "They're $1.25 now." Isn't that funny? That's called chutzpah. Chutzpah. Your Shakespeare of the day? Men are April when they woo, December when they wed. Maids are May when they are maids, but the sky changes when they are wives. How true that is. And the dog saying of the day, a dog has a soul of a philosopher. And that, ladies and gentlemen, the American jury is from Plato. Coming up, we're going to have Radio Superbity as we dive in to pop culture, beginning with the Oscars and my show and tell. Lots of sports as always over the weekend, including we're going to have some sports today because the Daytona 500 runs today at high noon if it's not raining. And I have some interesting legal news, world news, politics as always, and economics right here on Real Talk 1160. And a couple new things we're going on. 7:28, we got the Bill O'Reilly report. And tomorrow we begin at 8:28 the Huckabee Report. So right here at Bulldog Nation Radio, we're going to have two special reports. And remember, as always, Laura Ingraham follows me at 9 o'clock with Radio Addiction, followed again by the Savage Nation, right here on Real Talk 1160.
And make sure you check out the Other Guys Sports Show this afternoon, 5 to 7 on Real Talk 1160. And now, back to the Bulldog.
Eric Deters, the Bulldog on Real Talk 1160. You know, there's one big disadvantage of not having a sidekick. You got nobody to blame anything on. I can't blame anything on. So I just want to blame Jacob, the video guy, for bringing in my show and tell, which is this year's Sports Illustrated. Look at that ugly woman on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
I can't believe
Kate
it.
Upton. Do you believe they chose her ugliness to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated?
Who's going to buy that?
Nobody's going to buy this magazine. Furthermore, you know, I can't even believe they chose her. Who's on the committee to pick these girls in this? And by the way, I just want to let you know, I picked this up at Walgreens yesterday just for show and tell. And I have not looked on the inside of it. I only bought it to show the cover for show and tell, and I will never, ever look inside to see if there's skanks as ugly as her on the inside.
Maybe for research purposes, we may have to.
Okay. I think some of them are posing, TC, without our permission in green water.
Now, see, there could be a problem with that.
I mean, you know, when are they going to respect our registration of green water?
When are they going to get?
When are they going to respect it?
Some sort of topical ointment for the rash. That's what I'm wondering.
Maybe green water ought to expand out. Green water ointment for the green water rash. Do you have a green water commercial?
Actually, we have something here for green water. This portion of Bulldog Nation brought to you by great tasting, slimy living green water. Now available on Blu-ray and DVD. Green water available at Queen Kick.
That's good. Good old Blu-ray. You know, they say Blu-rays are better. You know, first it was beta, then VHS, then DVD, then Blu-ray. Let's think of the next one, man. Let's think of the next one. Golden disc.
How about
you got to get a golden disc.
Golden disc, and then it'll be Mine Video.
Mine Video.
You get that chip implanted in the back of your head. You think Walt Disney. You got a Disney movie playing in your head.
Do you know, TC? I refused to watch the Oscars until 10:30, which I thought was going to be the last 30 minutes.
Right.
Well, heck, I turned on at 10:30. I got to watch all the main awards.
Oh, okay.
And the best actor went to John Dujardin from The Actor, which he should have. I saw most of these movies, and he should have won that. Best actress Meryl Streep, Iron Lady, as it should have. Best picture went to The Actor, as it should have. Best director, The Actor, as it should have. Best supporting actor, Christopher Plummer.
The artist. You mean the artist?
The artist, excuse me. The oldest ever.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Best supporting actress, Octavia Spencer of The Help, which was a great movie. How about The Dictator? He dumped Kim Jong-il ashes on Ryan Seacrest. He was carrying, Seacrest, he was cool. He took it in stride if he wasn't in on the joke. And Billy Crystal, of course, hosted for the first time in 8 years. They brought Billy because Eddie Murphy says, I'm not doing the Oscars.
And Bob Hope's unavailable.
By the way, I watched the Tower Heist with Eddie Murphy on Saturday night at home, and it was good. My wife and I drove up to Esquire Movie Theater on Friday and saw a movie called Bullhead. It was good, but it was weird. It was a foreign film with subtitles. It's about a guy who takes a lot of steroids. I'm not going to give it away why he takes steroids. Very sad reason. And gets involved with the mafia in Belgium with their cattle. But it was kind of weird and sad all at the same time. Last night, TC, I pulled out an oldie but goodie, The Quiet Man with John Wayne. And he's at his best in that movie. The Quiet Man goes to Ireland. John Wayne has had mannerisms where like he acts surprised or disgusted. Yeah. They're just classic. That look he has. I have new respect for Anderson Cooper. On 60 Minutes last night, TC, he actually swam without a cage with great white sharks with some shark expert.
Really?
And I'm like, man, Anderson Cooper.
Pretty brave.
I mean, new respect for the guy. I mean, he ain't my kind of guy, but I was like, that was impressive. At the movies this week, The Act of Valor, which only cost $11 million to make. This is the one with the Navy SEALs who really are in the movie. did 24.7 mil. So this movie on its opening week makes $13 million, and guess what? Top at the box office. Lionsgate, Tyler Perry's Good Deeds finished second. Safe House, 11.4. Finishing 8th was Jennifer Aniston and Paul Rudd's Wanderlust. That's where they leave town and they go out and they end up in a commune. My daughter, Erica, who I trust, her opinion says, it was gut bust laugh. She laughed it out loud the whole movie. And she's got an irritating loud laugh like her father at movies. But there's pop culture for you. And again, just one final time. You know, there's no need to pick up the latest issue of Sports Illustrated because that on the cover is Kate Upton. That is the kind of ugly girls that they have posing inside the magazine. Why pick it up?
It's horrible.
There's no need to waste your. You know, one thing. It's kind of weird how there's trends.
Yeah. And
the trend in this Sports Illustrated is voluptuous. You know, sometimes it's like the little skinny model. The voluptuous. I mean, if Kate Upton looks like this and she says she worked her tail off to get in this kind of shape, is she like really fat when she doesn't work her tail off?
I don't know, but she says she worked out. I believe her.
Are you ready for a feel-good song, Jacob? This is a oldie but goodie from Herman's Hermits. Hermits. It'll stick in your head all day long. See, I try to think of songs. Look at that. He's a goofy-looking dude, ain't he? Is that the lead Herman?
Yeah, that's the lead Herman.
Is that the lead Herman? Yeah. The lead Hermit.
Or that might be Herman. That's Herman.
Look at those guys. Rock and roll had an interesting beginning, didn't it?
They were cool in 65, though, weren't they?
Yep. In their suits and ties. I'm into something good.
Look, that guy stole Ringo's drum set.
He said, "Hey, Ringo, can I borrow your drum set for a moment?
Sure, mate.
We're going to shoot a video here. It's called Into Something Good."
You're watching MTV.
There's a Buddy Holly lookalike. Is that Buddy Holly playing backup for Herman's Hermits? I didn't know Buddy Holly's got his beginning. Look, I even got Paul McCartney, a left-handed guitar player.
They're copycats.
Look at it. There's Buddy Holly.
There he is.
Oh.
Thought he went down in the plane crash.
Whatever happened to Herman's Hermits?
I think when this video, I don't know.
Boy, that guy's got Herman has a big mouth. Maybe that's how he could just spit out look at that drummer. He's really pounding those drums, isn't he? Here. Hit a snare drum, a bass, and a cymbal.
And the tambourine player.
You know, to be a lead singer in a band, you got to be able to play the tambourine.
Yeah.
Mick Jagger does it the best. Mick, he's singing the blues. In sports, the Daytona 500 was delayed for the first time in history due to rain. I mean, delayed to another day. They're going to run it at noon today. Mitt Romney, by the way, traveled down there to act like he was a good old boy, and it rains out. And Santorum has a car with his name on it.
Now, Mitt Romney did something over the weekend in addition to going to the Daytona, but he put his foot in his mouth again. I mean, I'll save it for when you want to talk about it.
Go ahead, do it now.
Well, over the weekend,
he's a sissy boy.
He said, I have some good friends who are NASCAR owners. Not just fans. Over the weekend, he was in Detroit. My wife had, I drive a Mustang and a pickup truck.
And she drives a couple Cadillacs. She said couple Cadillacs.
Yeah, did you catch that?
Yeah, I did.
Like, come on, man.
Mitt, you know what? Mitt can't bond with the average Joe, and Santorum's coming off like a right-wing crazy man.
A zealot.
Yeah. We come back. Radio Superbity on Real Talk 1160. Eric Deters, the Bulldog on Real Talk 1160. Going back to the 2012 Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue, they have women in here that their entire swimsuit is body paint.
Man, I'd love to be that artist.
Yeah, can you imagine?
What a job.
Holy cow. You know what? TC, there's something to be said that none of us in this room are married to or date these ladies in this, because it reminds me of an old song that Dr. Hook wrote. You know?
Yeah.
You know, who wants to be in love with one of these ladies?
You have to be either really, really secure or you're paranoid all the time.
Well, I think Dr. Hook sums it up pretty good. Everybody's wanting her.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to hit on her. The beautiful woman. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. You know everybody wants to steal her from you.
Right.
I watch my wife and everybody around. I am not naive. And you know what? A woman can be naive. Like, they're thinking, well, he's just being nice.
Right,
right. And you know what, TC? You can't admit to your wife or your girlfriend that you know he isn't just being nice because you know.
You know, my ex had a boss, you know. Oh, he's just being nice. No, he's not.
No, he's not.
Trust me, he's not. And I can't tell her why I know that.
You can't tell why you know. I know.
If I'm working with you, I'm not just being nice.
I told the ladies at the office about it because, of course, they're not my girlfriends or my wife. I said, hey, ladies, I just want you to know something. This is what's going down.
Right. All right.
Oh, my gosh. Remember her from Dukes of Hazzard?
Oh, yeah.
Catherine Bach.
They named an article of clothing about this woman, the Daisy Dukes. Still to this day, women wear Daisy Dukes.
I am so glad that my wife is not a flirt. You know, can you imagine being married to a woman that is like beautiful, flirtatious, needs attention? That would drive me nuts.
Yeah.
You know, the kind of woman that gets drunk and stands up on tables in bars. Just watch it, baby. Just watch it, baby.
You know, they say the beautiful blonde mating call. I'm so drunk.
I never heard it described like that. I'm so drunk. Linda Carter right there. Ladies and gentlemen of the American jury, go to YouTube and watch When You're in Love with a Beautiful Woman by Dr. Hook. It is a collage of beautiful ladies from many decades, right?
And how many husbands did all those women have?
Lots.
Because they were insecure.
They were insecure. You know what? You're in love with a beautiful woman. Dr. Hook's right. It's hard. NBA All-Star Game. Again, I turned just to watch the end. It was incredible. The East were down by 20 points and led by LeBron James. They come back. To be honest with you, they should have won. LeBron then had a turnover, and Dwayne Wade dropped the layup. Durant wins the MVP. Kobe suffers a broken nose by Dwayne Wade. Dwayne Wade says, I want to take care of this guy.
Yeah, he took him out, didn't he?
And Kobe passed Jordan as the biggest scorer in the game, the NBA All-Star Game.
Ah.
You know, Kobe started playing in the NBA when he was 13. I think it was 19. But
First Barry Bonds, now Kobe, destroying my childhood.
College basketball. UK 83, Vandy 74. UK wins the SEC. I went to that game, and I'm going to give you some comments about it. Anthony Davis, 10 of 11, 8 of 9 from the free throw line, 28 points, 11 rebounds, 5 blocks, and 2 steals.
Nice.
And TC, he would make shots from 5 foot, 8 foot, 10 foot. I mean,
parking lot.
He's incredible.
Yeah.
He's incredible. Indiana beat Minnesota 69-50. How ironic is it that the last team to go undefeated in the NCAA is Indiana, and they beat Kentucky by 1 point?
Yeah.
Xavier,
Rematch.
65, Richmond 57, Buffalo 84, Miami 74. You can't lose to Buffalo. Come on, Redhawks. You can't lose to Buffalo in basketball. Wisconsin beat your Buckeyes 63-60. Louisville held off Pitt 57-54. The NFL Combines began.
Oh, yeah.
And Old Griffin does a 4.41 in the 40 as a QB. And how funny is it that he and Luck, the two top quarterbacks, say, we're not going to throw at the Combine. You're a quarterback. We're not going to throw at the Combine.
What are you just going to do, run?
Yeah, just run.
You know, I got a funny story about that, too. My brother was in Indianapolis last week, I think Thursday, and he was for business. They went out to some club in the evening. He says they're sitting there just having drinks. He looks around. Jerry Jones walks in. I was like,
that is cool.
Jerry Jones?
That is cool.
He was like, wow.
That is cool.
Because, just hanging out, Michael Irvin was there. He's like, oh, my gosh, just.
Man, I would have had to go bother them. I'm a big fan, Jerry.
You'd have loved it.
Why don't you get us Bill Cowher as a coach? Kansas City has expressed interest in Peyton Manning. You know what? How do you cut Peyton Manning?
I don't know.
You know what I would do? I'm being serious. Screw Luck. I would take Griffin, who's much more exciting, put him behind Peyton Manning because I think Griffin has already said, hey, I can handle this. And bring Griffin along slow with Manning. That's what I would do.
That's a great idea.
Boxing. Nice story about Aaron Pryor, the Hawk, in Sunday's Enquirer. He was 39-1, and to this day, his fight against Alexis Arguello on 9/9/83 is the best fight I ever seen. I remember watching it at Tom Ruberg's house when I was a fraternity member, and we went over to his house to watch it, and my God, it was just punches being thrown. Had to break a record for punches. Also, our local dude, Adrian Broner, defeated Eloy Perez in round 4 of the 130 pound. Now, here's my take on the UK experience at Rupp Arena. First of all, this was my Valentine's Day gift to her, and we were like 5 rows from the top. But it was fun anyway. A few observations. Home announcers should be homers. I love the way when they do the introductions. Guard for Vandy, 6'3", da-da-da. At forward, da-da-da. And now for your Kentucky Wildcats. That's the way it's supposed to be. Why is it so awkward whether or not to sing along with the national anthem? It's like some guy singing the national anthem, and it's like, man, should I sing? Am I allowed to sing? Should I sing? I think everybody should just sing. Calipari's great. UK's team is great. They get to the basket and finish. I mean, it's amazing watching, besides Davis, to watch Teague, Lamb, Gilchrist, Jones. These guys, they'll be dribbling. It'll be them with 2 guys guarding them in a fast break, and they get to the basket in the rim like an NBA player. I mean, because they're all going to be NBA players. I mean, they'll do a crossover, switch hands, layup, double reverse. I mean, it's incredible. Yeah. You know what? Obviously, it's going to take an upset for them to lose in the NCAA. How many assistant coaches, TC, do these college teams have? I counted about 20 guys in suits.
Seriously.
On the UK's. I mean, and Vanderbilt, too. I'm like, I'm the assistant coach for a pregame warm-up. I'm the assistant coach for the Gatorade during the game time. I'm the assistant coach for wind sprints during practices on Tuesdays.
And then you got the coach for the left-handed dribbling.
Yeah, I'm the left-handed dribbling coach. I'm the three-point shot coach. I'm the free throw coach. I mean, what do all these guys do?
That program's got a lot of money.
It's got a lot of money. And that's the other thing. I'm sitting there at Rupp Arena, packed house, and I'm thinking, no suites. You know, because it's an old arena, and I'm sitting there thinking, what are they waiting on? These UK fans are nuts. Yeah. They would sell out a circle of suites like this. They would sell out front row seats like this.
They could sell 10 Paul Brown stadiums.
Here's another thing, and I hate to bring up race again, but it's just funny observation. And there's nothing bad about it, it's just funny. My wife and I just both noticed this. And it's kind of ironic because Adolph Rupp was obviously a racist. I mean, he refused to have black players.
Yeah.
He was one of the last ones to say, okay, I'll have black players.
UC was like that.
Yeah, UC was like, anyway, in the lower section, because we walked down there for pregame warm-up so my wife could see the players close and all that, all of the seats taken at the bottom level are all old white people. Watching these super young, great black athletes play basketball. It's just kind of funny.
Because they've got the old money.
Because they got the old money. I told my wife, I said, they've had those seats since Rupp. And they're not giving them up. Right. They're not giving them up. Ashley Judd could not be seen from where I was. I love Ashley Judd, and I was like, I'm sorry, I can't. She's down there somewhere. I can't. They look like mice down there playing, like little rats. I said, I can see white jerseys are UK. The dark jerseys are Vanderbilt. That's all I can see. And also, here's another thing, and I'm sorry, folks, you UK fans out there, I went to a UK football game this year because we'd never been to a football game, and we hadn't been to a UK game at Rupp Arena for a long, long time. Everybody talks about how pretty the Kentucky girls are. I'm telling you, man, I am being serious.
Be careful.
I know. Chuck says, do you try to make people mad? And I said, no, I don't try to make people mad, but I got to be myself. I'm not kidding you. Well, it ain't even close. My wife was the prettiest girl there. And I'm telling you, TC, I mean, I'm a guy. You know, you're looking around.
Yeah.
I saw a couple pretty girls or ladies. And I saw thousands of people.
Wow.
I mean, I'm telling you know what it is? Too much eating.
No, it is. It's all the
Too
guys that
much
had
eating.
all the guys with pretty girlfriends won't let them go to the games.
That could be.
That's what
because they're
it is.
listening to Dr. Hook. We come back local on Real Talk 1160.
Hey, don't worry if you miss your daily dose of radio superbity. Bulldog has you covered. Bulldog Nation podcasts are now up and running at realtalk1160.com. And now back to the Bulldog.
Eric Deters, the Bulldog on Real Talk 1160. Jim from Verona has informed me that one of those assistant coaches for the University of Kentucky is the green water coach. He's in charge of making sure that they avoid green water 30 minutes before the game.
That's a good. That guy's probably the highest paid coach they have. That's important.
I want to take up for the ladies of Kentucky in one story that I've shared, I think, before. One time, my brother Jed and I and Jason Dethridge, my good old sidekick Bimbo man, went all the way to Pikeville for a Republican fundraiser and event. Where Larry Forgy was there. And we were hung, it's the Landmark Hotel down there. If anybody's ever been to Pikeville, it's called the Landmark Hotel where the event was. And we decided to hang out after the event because apparently it turns into a little nightclub thing. And we hung around there. Now, Pikeville is on the border of Virginia and Tennessee and Kentucky. I mean, it's down in the furthest southeast part of Kentucky. And I'm telling you right now, as the party began and the DJ started playing and people started coming in there, it was incredible. There were 200 girls there from Pikeville, and they were all beautiful. I mean, this would have been back in like 1991, 92. I mean, I couldn't believe it. We were sitting around like, oh, my gosh, where do these girls come from? Let's move to Pikeville.
Yeah, take the show on the road.
Take the show on the road. And also, Dr. Hook, only 16, in love with a beautiful woman, cover of Rolling Stone. They had some hits.
Yeah, they did.
Cover Rolling Stone. We got to use that as a feel-good song. Kentucky's legislative districts will remain the same. So if you live in northern Kentucky, your legislator is going to have to run in the same district. The Kentucky Supreme Court said the redistricting plan is unconstitutional, so you're going to stay. Go ahead.
I have a question, okay?
Sure.
By law, Kentucky, because of the census and all that, every 10 years they have to go through the redistricting.
Yep.
This law has been in effect for a while, hasn't it?
Yes.
So why all of a sudden now are they saying it's unconstitutional?
The way they redrew the lines, they just decided was unconstitutional because the way they were drawn just were so far out of whack.
And confusing.
That they failed the constitutional test of being fair.
Okay, but the law is still in effect then?
Correct.
So I guess it's a case-by-case.
Yep,
Every 10 years
they're going to have to. Here's the bottom line: they're going to have to get them. They're going to get them straightened out, and then next go around 2 years from now, they'll be in new districts. Huh. It's kind of weird. Cincy Magazine comes out with their Power 100. Number 1 is Carl and Craig Lindner. Number 2 is John Boehner. Number 3, Bob McDonald at P&G. Number 4 is the Bulldog and TC.
Yes.
Number 5 is Castellini. We're 4th.
We're above Castellini.
We're above Castellini. We're above Portman.
We did well.
All these other. If you know what, if you run a hospital or a big company, you get in there. Mark Mallory is number 14th. He's 10 behind us.
Well,
he's 10 behind us.
As it should be.
There's a great article by Peter Bronson in the Cincy Magazine about the question of quality education. Students have a case against overpriced diplomas. This is going on all around the country. Law schools are suing. Colleges are suing. Under attack are all these community colleges, which are diploma factories. I mean, my son Parker, he got into an art school, which he decided not to go to, but now he might go to. And it's like going to Harvard. How much does it cost? But they'll give you an art degree. And I don't know whether he'll have skills or not, but, people will pay money for that piece of paper.
Yeah.
I guess I don't really blame him. Turning to legal news now. Incredible story out of St. Louis. A man suffered from dementia, went missing from the Midwest Rehab Respiratory Center in January, and they found his body 2 days later, not 2 years, 2 days later. Hey, Bill, has anybody seen Bill? God love him. Bill, the nurses weren't watching Bill, and Bill went out in the woods and died. God love him. That's sad, man. A civil liberties group in New York has sued the Salvation Army for forcing some employees to acknowledge the charity's mission is to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ. I thought the mission of the Salvation Army was to ring a bell at Christmas time.
That too.
Your mission is to ring a bell at Christmas time. The family of NFL player Dave Durson has filed a lawsuit against the league after Durson took his own life. This all has to do with that concussion stuff. And by the way, a former Bengals player sent to me the form that anybody in the NFL that thinks they, want to join a lawsuit, and it was interesting to read the form. I know what the form is.
Now, is this the guy that he left the suicide note saying, do an autopsy, have him examine my brain?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And they examined it, and it was like, woo. 660 retired NFL players are suing the league. By the way, I have advised this former NFL player, go ahead and join the lawsuit. What do you got to lose?
Right.
You want to listen to this incredible sad story. Savannah Hardin's life was in turmoil long before police say the 9-year-old was run to death by her grandmother and stepmother for lying about some candy she ate. Now, let me get this straight. You ought to see the picture of this little girl from the AP. Little Sarah Hardin, 9 years old, lied about some candy she ate. So you know what they did? They made her run and run and run for 3 hours.
What?
She was prodded. She finally collapsed and died from exhaustion.
Wow.
Can you imagine making a 9-year-old run for 3 hours?
No, and everybody's
because
saying,
she lied about some candy.
What kind of parent? And the girl must have been terrified. That's why she probably lied about it.
Right.
I mean, there must have been another severe punishment.
Absolutely.
I
mean, sad.
That is.
This story was in the AP the same day as my story with my Kentucky Supreme Court case. And I didn't pay attention to it. I was, obviously not wanting, I was
preoccupied.
Preoccupied. Larry Forgy said, did you see that story about that lawyer, Jay Baxter Schilling out of Louisville? I said, no, I didn't see that article about Jay Baxter Schilling out of Louisville. Now, let me tell you what Jay Baxter Schilling did. All right? Big Rivers owed $1.1 billion of debt to the Rural Utilities Service of the United States Department of Agriculture. Schilling met with the creditors, he's representing them, in Washington, D.C., in an attempt to negotiate an agreed reorganization plan. After that failed, Schilling tried to reach a fee agreement with the creditors. In other words, he's representing the utility company.
Yeah.
It doesn't work out with the creditors. So then he says, well, maybe I'll represent the creditors. Schilling later disclosed a fee deal with the creditors, prompting Rural Utilities, another large creditor and the bankruptcy trustee, to question what other deals Schilling had reached. He submitted his final fee application seeking $4.41 million. The bankruptcy trustee asked the judge to force Schilling to give up all the funds he had received because of the improper side agreements with creditors. Bankruptcy Judge David Stossberg eventually awarded Schilling a fee of a little over $2.6 million, but the U.S. Sixth Circuit Court reversed the decision. The appeals court found, this is an appeals court, found Schilling violated his duty to remain a disinterested party by entering into oral agreements for fees with creditors of his client. They described Schilling's behavior as secretive and deceptive. No suspension, TC.
What?
He got a public reprimand.
That's it?
That's it.
No, see.
He did something that crooked. And this came down the same day as my decision.
Now, the law is more fair for some than others, isn't it?
Yeah, if your name. You know what my name should have been? If I practiced law in Louisville and my name was E. Truxton Deters the Fourth,
Old money.
and I wore cufflinks, maybe. Is that not incredible?
That is. That is.
Ladies and gentlemen, the American jury. Now, this is why all my clients who I've been calling in Kentucky are saying, we know it's a bunch of crock, Bulldog, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I mean, this sums it all up right there.
It's burning the candle at both ends.
How does the Kentucky Supreme Court not suspend him?
Yeah.
Public reprimand.
That's
involving $2.6 million.
Doesn't that automatically represent a conflict of interest?
No, I may say I'm going to represent you. I'm going to represent you.
And I'm going to get a fee from you, so I'm going to get these guys to do something else.
It's incredible. When we come back, we have some very relevant world news to report on Radio Superbity on Real Talk 1160. Eric Deters, the Bulldog, on Real Talk 1160. I have some fan mail that I would like to share with you. This is from Bulldog Nation member Keith. Bravo. I find it ironic in today's time that those in a position to speak the truth do not. Like the saying goes, all it takes for evil to prevail is good men do nothing. I have emailed other talk show hosts before black and white information on what a lot of the causes of this nation's woes are, just to be ignored. One, from another radio station we will not name, says, I just read the program, man. Seems he is one that loves making a career complaining about problems versus taking action towards fixing them. If anyone would take it upon themselves to spend time educating themselves, like you do, about the founding of this nation, history, law, their eyes would be open and how the truth is being blinded by the TV. Keep up the good fight. This is a heavyweight in town, by the way.
Yeah.
Bulldog Nation. And this is from a 74-year-old grandmother, Bulldog Nation member Nora. Mr. Deters, please call me Bulldog Nora. I really love your newsletter. I am there. I will stand to save this country for my great-grandchildren to be raised in a free USA. Let's roll.
Nice.
Got a feisty grandma. I love her.
I bet she's ready to march.
National gasoline, TC, average is going up to 3.69. And I hate to say that I agree with Chuck Schumer, but I do. You know, this Saudi prince said it won't go over $100. We'll produce whatever you got. And just like Schumer said, for every barrel Iran takes off the market, Saudi can put on it, and they're not doing it. They're making profit.
Yeah, they're laughing at us over in other parts of the world, aren't they?
They are laughing at us.
I mean, it's something else. The Saudis and Pakistanis, they're playing us. They are playing us.
They are. And you know what? Here's how. You don't think oil makes a difference? I love the honesty of Baker. Baker told, this is James Baker from the Reagan and Bush administration. James Baker, there was a documentary about, he's been in the White House for a long time, and he says every administration he has served in, it has been a national security edict that we will go to war over oil supply.
Is that right?
Now, I mean, at least there's somebody that admits it. Now,
I agree with that, though.
I agree with that. To prove that, from the Wall Street Journal this weekend, the Pentagon is beefing up sea and land-based defenses in the Persian Gulf to counter any attempt by Iran to close the Strait of Hormuz. They close the Strait of Hormuz, price of oil is going to go bonkers. So our U.S. military is saying, nah, baby, nah.
Right.
Nah, you ain't going to be closing the Strait of Hormuz.
I'm sorry, Dave. I cannot allow that to happen.
I'm sorry, you're right. I'm not going to allow that to happen. You know what? If you are naive, it bites you in the butt. I know every time I'm naive about something, it bites me in the butt. You know, for the Americans to be secretly having these discussions with the Taliban and Karzai representing the Afghanistan people and how to get out of this. And what happens? You know, there's some Qurans that get burnt. Why? Because they were defaced, so they wanted to burn them. You know what? If in the Middle East they burned some Bibles, we wouldn't say, we must kill them, we must kill them all.
Right.
I mean, it is just dysfunction. I mean, the way they think is just not us. So they retaliate and kill a couple of our guys in the Interior Ministry and Kabul. And I'm like, are you kidding me? The Taliban does it. And they admit they're doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like we're going to be able to discuss with the Taliban. You know, Taliban seen the writing on the wall. They know we won out. It's over.
Now, a few years ago, we had that. There was a a minister, I believe it was, who had this big plan. He was going to burn the Quran. Remember that? Mm-hmm. And the United States government
you're
said,
right.
and they said, no, we don't want you to do that now. Come on, we're not trying to, instigate or whatnot. So why would we now just go out and do? I mean, if we were going to do it, we'd make a big deal about it. Hey, we're doing this for a reason. We wouldn't say, oops, we made a mistake.
That's correct. It's a great point. In some general news, I cannot understate the significance in American history of Dwight D. Eisenhower. Eisenhower was the supreme commander of all Allied forces during World War II in Europe. Let me explain that. That means Britain, France, and our allies allowed Eisenhower to be in control of their military. Now, we would never accept that. Eisenhower signed off on D-Day. D-Day was all him. Eisenhower made strategic decisions like using Patton as a diversion. After firing Patton, he was smart enough to bring Patton back, and look what the Third Army did in 3 days in getting to the Battle of the Bulge. Eisenhower was a phenomenal wartime leader and general. Now, he then becomes president for 8 years. Can you imagine having a better president during the first 8 years of the Cold War than somebody like the supreme commander of the Allied force? You know for a fact that our enemies following World War II, we're saying, Ike's not to mess with. He's that strong, silent type. You know what I mean?
Right.
In fact, when he left, he warned about the defense establishment, and then the interstate highway system, the beginning of NATO. I mean, just all the things that Eisenhower did. He's a great man. Well, just like Adams is finally getting his due for memorial, maybe Eisenhower deserves a memorial in Washington, D.C. Yeah. So they're getting him one. Well, what do? They have somebody named the Geary design. It reimagines Eisenhower's Kansan childhood is where the focus is. The only significant statue of Eisenhower is him as a barefoot boy. The design, according to the New York Times, has been widely criticized by the Eisenhower family, by architectural traditionalists. Give me a break. You know what? You know what I love, TC?
What's that?
I love the traditional good old statues. Give me a statue of Eisenhower as president, as general, whatever it is. Give me a statue
in his military
dress.
In his military
dress. That's
animated.
What.
Yeah.
You know what? You look at those statues of Jefferson and Lincoln and all the rest, or you go in the Capitol Hill in the Hall of Statues, and you look at those statues. There's nothing like a bronze statue or marble statue. No, let's get artsy with Eisenhower, who served in the 50s.
Right. That's a mistake. That was a waste of some metal.
Do you know how bad it is? I've done it how bad it is lately.
How bad is it?
A state representative in Wyoming on Friday advanced legislation to launch a study into what Wyoming should do in the event of a complete economic or political collapse in the U.S. House Bill 85 passed on the first reading by voice vote. It would create a state-run government continuity task force which would study and prepare Wyoming for potential catastrophe, disruptions in food and energy supplies, to complete meltdown in federal government. It would look at the feasibility of issuing alternative currency if needed. This is wild. Military draft, raising a standing army, and acquiring aircraft.
That sounds like secession to me.
It says something about an aircraft carrier. I don't know where. I guess there's a lake somewhere in Wyoming they could put an aircraft carrier.
Yeah, Lake Wyoming.
Is that not incredible? that a state is doing that?
I don't know if that would be more homeland security, but it sounds more like they're trying to secede from the Union.
It might be. Here's something that'll get everybody's goat, and I think I'll have to give out the number for this one. What you think about this? 513-579-1160. 513-579-1160. The federal prison inmates will be allowed one more very personal item traditionally checked. The U.S. Bureau of Prisons are going to allow them MP3 players. packed with personalized music lists to pass time. They say this is important to prohibit disruption, good orderly running of the institution. Now, here's my point, TC. This goes right along with, remember what I said? Let's give the people the maximum of 25 years or we're going to execute them.
Right.
Life imprisonment is stupid. Our prison system is now bogged down. There's a story about this last week in the Times. They're getting bogged down now with prisoners with dementia, Alzheimer's, cancer, all those geriatric problems that we have. Are you kidding me? I mean, it's that's a burden in the system where it's like, I have to admit, I'm sitting there thinking to myself about crimes. And you know what? I can't think of any crime, bank robbery, murdering somebody in the heat of moment, your girlfriend that you shouldn't murder. 25 years, man, I'm telling you. I mean, I can see it. Now, let's think of all those other crimes like serial killers, killing 3 people, doing something terrible.
Right. Hurting a child.
Death sentence.
Kill him.
Death sentence. Why give them life?
Save the taxpayer.
There should not be a life sentence. It makes no sense.
You're right.
None.
You're right.
Thinking outside the box. When we come back, it's politics on Real Talk 1160.
Real Talk 1160 is on Facebook. You can keep tabs of your favorite talk show hosts and listen to live streaming. Make sure you log on to facebook.com/Real Talk 1160 and join in. And now join in with the Bulldog.
Eric Deters, the Bulldog on Real Talk 1160. TC, I just saw, and I didn't read the article, I just saw the headline, that a police officer committed an armed robbery on purpose in order to get health insurance. So he must have some serious problem where he knows he can go in prison and get the health insurance he needs.
Now, see, that's not right.
Now, ladies and gentlemen of the American jury, I support Hillary Clinton and Rick Santorum's plan, what they supported, that if you serve the time for your felony sentence, you should have the right to vote and your rights restored. It makes no sense. Okay, you're a felon and you serve 5 years, 10 years. Okay, if you did the crime and you do your time, come on. Now, let me put this in perspective about what I've been saying about life sentences. And, let me just get this straight to you, folks. If somebody molests your child, kill him. I want everybody to know that I'm not being light. I'm just saying life sentences are, if you do something bad enough for a life sentence, you should be executed. If you do something that's bad, but not bad enough for a life sentence, 25 years. And I want to put this in perspective. It's like my Kentucky bar battle. The publicity that you get from the battle itself, and I had some jackwagon biased guy find me guilty of all 19, and then I had to battle that, and I get 15 of them thrown out, and then I get punished for not admitting it, even though I'm found not guilty of 15. You go through this energy, and every time one of these things hit, like, ladies and gentlemen of the American jury, the energy that I have spent in the last 72 hours calling clients, telling them this is what's going down, getting prepared for this. I got to send out a letter, all these things. The punishment doesn't fit the quote-unquote crime. It far exceeds it. And it's almost like, and this is what drives them nuts, it's like I'm so adept at handling crisis and dealing with these things, then when it doesn't hurt me as bad as they want it to hurt me, it drives them even more nuts. True story, folks. Yesterday, okay, I get the suspensions announced on Friday or whatever, the newspaper. On Saturday, true story, I'm doing legal work, and then I go to the UK game with the wife, come home, do it. On Sunday morning, I meet at 9 o'clock at a restaurant of a lawyer that wants to join my law firm. At 10 o'clock, I meet with a very wealthy woman who wants me to hire her for her Ohio divorce. At 11 o'clock, I meet with somebody who gives me a lot of money to represent their son in a big-time criminal case up in Ohio. At 11:30, I meet with somebody who hires me on another matter in Ohio. And then at 12:30, another one. All right, now, all of these people know what happened in Kentucky. And every freaking one of them is like, man, Bulldog, we want the Bulldog. One guy sends me an email and he says, I just want you to know that I got a huge case that you're going to make millions, but I'm going to wait 60 days to come see you.
Nice.
But what happens is, TC, is that people don't grasp the significance of a punishment. Ladies and gentlemen, the American jury, spending a year in a federal or state prison is an incredible punishment. Incredible punishment. You're not boinking, at least somebody you want to boink. You know, you're not getting to go out and see the sunlight. You turn pasty white. You get the minimum calories that they feed you. I mean, your freedom is restricted. Sure, you might have TV, but come on. You got to fight over what you're watching on TV. I mean, it's an incredible punishment. Just think about that, ladies and gentlemen of the American jury. If you are in prison a year, I've had these conversations with my wife. I said, you know what? If I went away to prison for a year, I guess I could hope that you'd be faithful to me. And you could handle a year.
Yeah.
You know, if you went away 5 years, how do you expect your spouse? Sorry, man, it'd be kind of like, okay, I just don't want to know about it.
Right.
I mean, come on, 5 years. I mean, and think about the turmoil for the family. Your kids, my kids depend on me, employees. I mean, So just think, folks, of you going to prison for a year, how serious of a punishment that is. We got people getting sentenced to 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years for theft, for drugs. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know that I'm on both ends of the spectrum. I think we are too harsh on those crimes like drug possession, property rights, and everything else. Yeah. And I don't think we're harsh enough on the bad stuff. You know, if somebody destroys a child's innocence, kill them.
Right.
Kill them.
Yeah.
I don't want to see them 20 years and register as a sex. How messed up is it, TC, that we have them register as a sex offender?
And that's symbolic. That's all.
I mean, if they got to register as a sex offender, it means we're worried about them, right?
Yeah.
We're worried about where they are. Well, why don't we just kill them?
Well, I can't argue.
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
I can't argue with you.
Rape, kill them.
Yeah.
Prankster, I was going to take your call, buddy. Call back if you want to. My bad, Prankster.
Yeah, call us back in.
I just got on a roll, Prankster. Call back.
So with this officer, he commits armed robbery. So you said the police officer, right?
Yeah, to get health insurance. I didn't read what he had, but he did it to get health insurance.
But now a police officer, this guy's obviously going to know, like you just said, a year in prison is a hard life. He knows that. So how desperate is this guy to get health insurance? And by the way, would he be acquitted if this is a pre-existing condition?
That's a good point. Listen to this. On Friday, TC, I meet with 2 other lawyers that want to join my office. Oh,
okay.
And it's been in the news, a high-powered, big-time criminal case who's firing his lawyer to hire me. You know, I mean, this is incredible. But I'm so proud of this. People are like, hey, you go, Bulldog. We don't give a dang what Kentucky's doing to you. We want you. All right. Well, get this. Oh, and in a business hired me. I'm talking to this lawyer, okay? He graduated from law school same time as I am. Uh-huh. And I said, what's the deal with criminal law? He goes, let me tell you something. He says, Eric, the petty criminal in Hamilton County doesn't hire a lawyer anymore. I said, why? He goes, they know they're going to go in and they're going to go out. They know they're going to go in and they're going to go out. He says they don't hire a lawyer because they know they can plead guilty, and Hamilton County doesn't have enough room for them, so they're going to go out. And that is incredible. So that's hurting the lawyer's business. I find that interesting. It's hurting the lawyer's business that they don't need a lawyer because they know they're going to get out. John in Brooksville, you're on Real Talk 1160. Say something witty or wise for the American jury.
Well, Bulldog, I'll tell you what I'm thinking. Let's let the felons vote. And how about you also need a W-2?
A W-2 for what?
To vote. If you haven't.
Oh, you're saying you got to work to vote. You know what, John? I am being very candid. It seems to me that there's something to be said for the people pulling the wagon should be able to decide a little bit more than those riding in the wagon. Now, there's some differences. Let's say you've worked all your life. You know, you got a retirement. But if you're just somebody that's, riding in the wagon from day one and you haven't produced, why should you have the same vote as me? I agree with that, John. I agree with you, buddy. Prankster, you're on Real Talk 1160. Say something. What are your whys?
Yes, I had a call coming in from down in Chicago there. We're having problems down there with a family member down there. You was talking about going to Wyoming, the people.
They want an aircraft carrier. They want to get ready for Armageddon.
No, seriously. I was wondering if you knew anything about these situation with websites and all these people. They, if you click on them, they say that they put cookies in there and they basically can get all the information and stuff like that.
I've heard of those things.
And they say there's like people it's like a lady friend of mine. She said people email her stuff with viruses deliberately, and it goes into a web search by the government. And she was also telling me, like, if you say something bad about the government right now, there's a website you can go to turn your friend on.
I'm toast. I'm toast.
No, I'm serious.
I'm serious. I'm toast. I called for an armed march, prankster.
No, I'm serious. There's a website where if somebody would say something like you're saying or we're joking around, they actually can go to a website and turn you in. There's a government website now like that.
Is there a fee?
Is there a fee, prankster?
No, but they allegedly, she said that they will pay the people if it's a big enough thing.
Well, I believe that, and it's already been proven that the government has admitted they're watching Facebook and social networking to see. All right, we will, when we come back, finally get to politics. We just had too much other good stuff to discuss. Jan Brewer yesterday endorsed Mitt Romney. I watched a few network news, and it's amazing how network news is so negative about the Republican primary. I also want to congratulate Bulldog Nation member Chris Littleton, who wrote a nice guest column yesterday in the Enquirer in support of Ron Paul. Michigan tomorrow, Romney's money's paying off. He's pulled ahead. Arizona tomorrow, Romney also is pulled ahead. When we come back, we're going to have some political discussions on Real Talk 1160. Eric Deters, the Bulldog, on Real Talk 1160. I just got to make a comment here, folks. All of the ladies in the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue, no painted toenails, no painted fingernails, all cute toes. I'm telling you, man, I know the way how it is. Romney Medicare. Beginning in 2022, Romney says we will gradually increase the Medicare eligibility age by 1 month each year. Are you kidding me? Wow. Way to be bold, Mitt. In 2022, we're going to increase the age 1 month a year. So it'll go up 1 year in 12 years.
So from 59 and a half to 60 and a half.
Way to be bold, Mitt.
We're going to take baby steps.
All the governors had lunch with Obama. That's pretty wild. Bill Mayer has pledged $1 million to an Obama super PAC. Boy, that's a shocker, isn't it?
Really?
$1 million. Now, I've got some great stuff on the market and vanished kingdoms. But before that, my friend Bob Schrage, I asked him to call in because he is a local Northern Kentuckian who has written a book. And he would like to promote his book, and I would like to let him promote his book. Bob, how are you this morning?
Hey, I'm doing fine, and you?
Why don't you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the American jury about your book, what it's about, and where they can buy your book?
Okay, well, the book is called Carl Kiger, The Man Beyond the Murder, and it's about, and most people know Carl Kiger as a sort of a victim of one of the most famous murder trials in Northern Kentucky history.
His own daughter.
And his own daughter, did it, and back in 1943, but little was known about the man because he was really, if you look back, one of Northern Kentucky's most controversial and
kind of like me.
Kind of exactly like you. Yeah, not quite that much, but he was very controversial, and there was a lot of influences of the mob back in Covington politics at the time, and he grew up from a poor West Covington neighborhood to become the most powerful and influential elected official in Northern Kentucky, and then he spent his whole career trying to overthrow the administration of Covington, and then he was successful and made a lot of changes in the Covington city government, and then was murdered. And there was a lot of investigations that perhaps the mob had something to do with it. And this is a guy who befriended vice president, and ran a campaign for Alvin Barkley, and just a whole bunch of tremendous history that the book goes into about him, but also Covington and Northern Kentucky politics back in the 40s. It's during the Great Depression, World War II. At times, Covington is switching from an old sort of boss system to a city manager form of government, and it's a great time to write a book, a great time period, but also it's just he's so controversial and so interesting as an official.
To those who live in Boone County, this is the story that Asa Rouse and Judge Ferguson reenacted the trial of the young woman that was on trial for this.
Yeah, that's exactly true, and they're both quoted in the book a couple times because they're really some good experts on the murder. Whereas this book goes into the man, but we certainly talk about the murder and how it came about. Because
Bob, one of the things that I see this all the time, and I actually take notes and write down them. There are so many true events that occur that are great subject matters for books, documentaries, movies. I mean, like, for example, this guy, I get sick and tired of seeing bad movies.
Yeah.
You can make a movie about this guy. You can make a movie about that trial. You can make a movie, and it happens all the time around us, real-life stories that grab you. What's the name of the book, and where can people buy the book, Bob?
It's Carl Kiger, Kiger, The Man Beyond the Murder. And, Joseph Beth is a good place. But also, there's a new web page that's just started called nkybooks.com. And it's a great place to get local history books. And I certainly would promote that as a place.
nkybooks.com?
Yeah,
that's easy to remember.
It's a brand new web page, and so it's got a lot of new publications on there and stuff. So that's a great place to get it. Then there's some other places online to be able to get it, and eventually it'll be in Barnes & Noble and some other places. But Joseph Beth, I think, will probably be starting this week. And
when I retire, when I'm 120, I want to retire next to a Best Buy, Cinemaplex, and bookstore.
I do too.
That's all I need to be happy.
I'm the same way. I just love movies and love
music, books, the whole bit. Well, listen, will you email me at eric@ericdeters.com the information that you've just given out on the air, and I will put it on my newsletter in front and center of my blog and everything. And, Bob, I have to bestow upon you for writing a book because I know what it's like to write a book. Yeah. You get the highest honor bestowed upon a member of Bulldog Nation, which is Oracle status.
Hey.
What's the name of the book one more time, Bob?
Carl Kiger, The Man Beyond the Murder. I'm so honored.
All right. God bless you. Go out and buy that book. A little reading never hurt anybody. Jacob, you ought to read a book. When's the last time you read a book, Jacob?
About a week ago.
Good for you. What book did you read? Busted.
Crossfire.
Now you know why cross-examination is so critical. All right, Crossfire. This is from the USA Today. Kind of scary stuff. Harry Dent, speaking of books, is the author of the new book, The Great Crash Ahead. Says another stock market crash is coming due to the bad ending of the global debt bubble. He has pulled back on his earlier prediction of a crash in 2012 as central banks around the world have been flooding markets with money. In other words, it's basically like an artificial, holding it all up. But he says 2013, 2014, and it's going to be bigger. That's what I predict. Unless we don't we have a change in our administration. TC, it cracks me up how we keep hearing this, the economy is improving. We have manufacturing orders are up, employment, and it's kind of like, what are you talking about? We're adding sooner or later. It's almost like this artificial, let's make the public feel good. Let's make them think that it's all okay. Let's make everybody think that it's an illusion that they want to create when in reality, the people are really going, oh my God, what are we going to do? When Europe falls apart, what are we going to do? UK, for example, the Chancellor of Britain, that's UK, England, all the names that you want to call it, okay? Yeah. They said, we're out of money. They say we can't stimulate, we can't do anything, we're broke. I mean, that's incredible for a country as a Britain to say we're broke.
I wonder how that'd be different if they didn't have Greece in the euro whatever that is.
You know what, TC, and we've hashed this out before on the show. There's people that have written the stories about this, that it was such a misguided adventure to think that you could have a euro and unify them when even Europe has differences depending on where you go. I mean, let me give you an example. the United States of America, we're held together, but there used to be huge regional differences. I think there's less regional differences now than there used to be. But the reality is England and Germany, for example,
Right.
they're much different in culture and work ethic than Italy and Greece. The Mediterranean, I mean, you know what? You almost can't blame them. I mean, the climate, the culture, and everything else. I mean, I always marvel like people in Florida or California that live on the coast.
Yeah.
How do you get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go out there and work a real hard day when it's like, I think I might just go lay on the beach?
Yeah, I'm going to go sailing. I'm going to go fishing today.
You know, I mean, God, that's tempting, you know.
I know.
But whoever concocted this, by the way, somebody who opposed this, speaking of Meryl Streep's victory as playing the Iron Lady, was Margaret Thatcher. She thought it was a bunch of poppycock.
Really? They should have listened to her.
I mean, how do you blend all? And you know what other thing is? It's like, okay, it's the same thing like Saudi Arabia. You're going to blend, or the Middle East, you're going to blend all these Middle Eastern countries with all of their harsh feelings. I mean, you don't think that some of the old timers between Germany and France
Right.
still have issues? England and France. I mean, let's face it, our old World War II veterans, some of them will not buy a Japanese car.
Yeah.
I mean, so you still have some of these bent up ill will in Europe between countries. And you're going to say, let's all hold hands and have a united currency and sing Kumbaya. And then the problem is when you know what it is? It's like when the boat is sinking or everybody is sinking and you only have so many life jackets. It's like, well, we're all got to go down because so-and-so's sinking, so he's going to pull us down under versus having the courage to say, you know what, it's better for Bob to drown and all of us not drown than Bob to cause us all to drown.
Now, see, that's Spock's attitude. Yeah, you got to sacrifice the one, but save the many.
I mean, that might be harsh, but that's the way I look at these type of things. You got to love this, and I have to admit, now, I'm somebody, once again, I'm able to rationalize price supports for farmers and aid to farmers a little bit different than anybody else because they feed us. However, if we could get off government subsidies for farmers, I support that. But we need farmers because they feed us. This is great. Farmers are now holding on to lots of their corn. They're holding on to 64% of their corn in storage, waiting for the higher prices. Apparently last year it was 62%. But they say farmers are doing pretty good now because the commodities and food prices is going up. And if you ever watch those documentaries about the problem with the fattening American, you don't realize how corn is in everything. Yeah. Corn syrup is in everything.
Right.
I mean, corn feeds the world. I'd like to have a few silos full of corn and say, I'm going to hold on to my corn for a little while. Meanwhile, Wyoming is trying to negotiate direct purchases of the corn. We come back, we'll wrap up this radio superbity on Real Talk 1160.
And we want to know what you think about our brand new lineup with Michael Savage in there at noon to 3 today, followed by Dennis Miller on Real Talk 1160. And now back to the Bulldog.
Eric Deters, the Bulldog on Real Talk 1160. I have left the Sports Illustrated issue for the other guys. I wrote the gift from the Bulldog. It's sports, right? I mean, it says Sports Illustrated right there.
They're going to go nuts when they see that.
Yes.
You can't handle the woman.
You can't handle Kate Upton.
Ugh.
I wonder if, isn't she dating the quarterback from the Jets? Probably. Mark Sanchez? That's what I heard, a rumor. Really? There is a shooting in a town called Chardon, I think. It's near Cleveland. In the school cafeteria, they don't know the state of the victims, but there's been a school shooting. The school's on what they call lockdown, and we've heard that story before. CNN is reporting this. Thank goodness that TC watches. Who's the woman that you watch?
Robin Meade.
Robin Meade. Oh. So he alerted to me because we have Fox 19 on in this studio. So anyway, there is a shooting up near Cleveland. And you know what? It's going to be the same old thing. A kid that was bullied, a kid that was picked on, or over girls, over drugs, over something that it just should never have happened.
Right. How often did that happen when you were in high school?
Never.
Oh, that's what I thought. Same here.
You know what, TC? Let me see. I graduated from high school in '79. I went to school in the '70s. And you know what we had? We had some fist fights every now and then.
Yeah.
You know, you had some druggies, smoked some pot. But you know what? They never were taking heroin.
Oh, okay, well that's good.
I'm just trying to say it's amazing how, you know, the things were just different. I mean,
What they call
we
gateway
weren't-
drugs.
Nobody was a saint, but
Yeah.
man, just things just are over the top now. It just,
Yeah.
and you know, you hate to say this. I mean, I'm watching the NBA All-Star game just for the break. I switched over to check it out, and it was the break at halftime. And I'm watching the halftime show, and, you know, and the whole of the jazz and everything else, and
Yeah.
Pitbull and everything going on. And a buddy of mine texts me the same time I was thinking this. He goes, "Where's the culture of America gone?" And, man, pop culture is way out there.
Yeah.
I sound like my parents. That Elvis Presley,
Yeah.
that AC/DC band.
Those guys are tame. They seem mild now.
You think about AC/DC, you think, there ain't nothing, man. I mean,
I
let's
know.
face it, every popular rap, it's explicit lyrics.
Yeah.
The warning label. I mean, my son, my God, I go down where he's working out or getting his vehicle. I said, "Parker, come on, man. Be respectful."
Right, right.
You know, I mean, I would never play that kind of music with my dad.
And you know the thing that it's weird too is half the people that get released from prison walk out with a record deal.
Yep, you're right.
You know?
Got street cred. Ladies and gentlemen of the American jury, I would like to conclude today's show with a downer.
Thank you very much. Happy Monday.
Now, let me explain why I'm doing this. Now, I noticed, TC, that they always mention that if you're going to run for president, this is one of Santorum's problems is Santorum's been a real downer. But guess what? I'm not running for president. Okay. And it is true. I mean, if you're running for president, you have to be America's days are ahead of a great. And by the way, I still believe that America's greatest days can be ahead of it. We got to get a new president, new Senate, and everything else. But I love history, and I'm able to read history and cipher out what's true, what's not true. There was an article in the weekend, and if you buy a special newspaper over the weekend, let's say you're saying, I want to read a little bit more over the weekend, you need to buy the weekend edition of the Wall Street Journal and then go to the Weekend in Review. It is the best 10 to 15 pages of a newspaper the entire week. They have some science, they have some history, they have some literature. I mean, I love it. I mean, there isn't one article that I'm like, I want to read this article, And there was an article called by Norman Davies where he discusses his book, The Emperor of Vanished Kingdoms. Now, the key, remember the quote from the day? The quote is to guard liberty, you have to have responsibility. Remember what the quote was? You have to have responsibility. I'm going to read this. This is the final 4 paragraphs of this story in the Wall Street Journal. For even the mightiest sovereign's eventual collapse is a safer bet than indefinite life. But there is a line separating awareness of unpleasant historical facts from fatalistic acceptance, and Mr. Davies, both in conversation and his work, treads it watchfully. Still, for his coldly analytical eye towards transscience and national decline, reviewers have called vanished kingdoms pessimistic, even apocalyptic. Mr. Davies resents the charge. Any historian worth their salt should beware of wars, conflicts, and catastrophes. They happen. This is part of the panorama. Look at 9/11. Look at the result of 9/11. War in Afghanistan, Iraq. I mean, just think what that did. George Bush, it was like we were punched, and George Bush fell for the throw the big haymaker back, and look what happened. This is part of he spent the summer before his first year of university reading on the history's teacher's advice, Edward Gibbon's History of the Decline and Fall of Roman Empire, which, by the way, I studied in history. It's got 6 volumes. I did not read the 6 volumes. That he wrote between 1776 and 1788. What Gibbon called the greatest, perhaps the most awful scene in history of mankind, left an impression on the budding historian, and Gibbon's telling of Rome's end informs the melancholic cast of the vanished kingdoms. Mr. Davies prefers to call it serenity, a calm recognition that human institutions, like humans themselves, do not live forever. Serenity is the balance between good and bad, life and death, horrors and pleasures. Life is, as it were, defined by death. If there wasn't death of things, then there wouldn't be any life to celebrate. Very true. Kind of like the Serenity Prayer. That isn't likely to console Greek politicians, much less Greek citizens whose pensions have been gutted and their wages slashed. But it helps clarify the stakes. Europe is old, and against time's pitiless passage, there are limits to what can and ought to be done to preserve the status quo. Even when the status quo revolves around something as large and deeply invested as the euro or the UK. There's a lovely quotation from Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Mr. Davies says a little dreamily, "If Rome and Sparta could perish, what state could hope to live forever?" Amen. Now let me tell you about that, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, the American jury. America isn't even 300 years old. Okay, 1776. Okay, we celebrated in 1976 our 200th bicentennial. Remember that? So now we're up to 240 years. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, the American jury. America can live and strive and survive hundreds of more years. It really can. And maybe for 1,000 years. But you know what it takes, folks? It takes wise and honorable leadership. It takes an informed citizenry. It takes responsibility. It takes vigilance. As I pointed out, I think very wisely, we could turn to what the liberals love, the Native American Indians. Oh, let's protect the Native. Well, guess what? Let's look at the Native American Indians, liberals. The elderly, the little kids, everybody participated and had responsibility. Are we doing that now? You know what? America can survive hundreds of years. America can be great again, remain the greatest nation on the face of the earth. But you know what it takes? It takes honor, responsibility, hard work. You know, we can't spend more than we take in. Duh! I mean, just these basic principles. The recklessness of Barack Obama and his minions, the recklessness of the Republicans and the Democratic Party the last 20 years. Incredible. Incredible recklessness. George Bush, let's pass a prescription drug bill. Democrats, Republicans, we're going to let these seniors have a prescription drug bill for nothing. What a jackwagon. Let's go to war and spend $1 trillion in Iraq, and then when we leave after the $1 trillion, they're going to fall apart. Let's spend all this money and time and effort and blood in Afghanistan, and when we leave, it falls apart. Wise rulers, folks. We need wise rulers, and we need wise citizenry. Now, let's check out the state of the land right now. Look at our pop culture. And you know what they say? They say art. They say art always shows what's coming. They say art is always, I'm married to an artist, art is always going to be reflective in advance of what's coming. If that's the case, it isn't looking pretty. We're the age of the Kardashians versus the age of the Bulldog fighting back. Every dog has their day. I hope tomorrow is yours. This is the Bulldog on Real Talk 1160.